There's a few brand new Switch stories that just dropped today that we got to talk about, starting with the Chocobo racing game that we previously saw announced for the Nintendo Switch at the September Direct, now getting an official launch trailer and some new information with an official launch date. Then we also have to cover the official announcement from Nintendo that an Indie World will indeed be taking place tomorrow, and I want to cover what we can expect from that event. And the big talking point for today's video is, as we close out the year of 2021, when can we expect Nintendo to put on their first of the year Nintendo Direct? And I want to look at history and talk about what games and when we may be able to expect the next Nintendo Direct to take place. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're covering a few different stories today, and I want to kick it off with a surprise launch trailer or overview launch trailer that we got today for Chocobo GP, which is a new kart racer that will be coming out. And of course, this is tied to the Final Fantasy world, and it is coming to us from Square Enix. And I did not previously know that this game actually had an installment back on the PlayStation 1. I never played that, but apparently this has been a long-standing, somewhat of a competitor, I guess you could say, to the Mario Kart franchise, or at least Square Enix's attempt at that style of a game. And if you guys have been around on the channel for a while, you will know that I've been patiently awaiting any kind of Mario Kart 9 announcement. So now these competitor kart racers are starting to look a little bit better, considering that, you know, we're not going to get Mario Kart 9 for the foreseeable future because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will never stop selling. So with that said, I do want to cover some new details that we learned from this game today, because I actually was really interested at some of the things that they mentioned. Most namely, they have a story mode where you can actually go through and unlock new characters and courses as you progress through the game. They also have custom races that you can build out. So if you want to play with different tracks from different cups and things like that, it sounds like you can set up however many races to take place in a row when you are playing with your friends, which it does support both local multiplayer and online multiplayer, which is nice as well. And the big thing about the online multiplayer that they go over in this trailer is that they actually have a tournament mode where you get knocked out, I guess, out of each race, kind of what you would expect with like a Smash Bros style tournament, but it supports up to 64 players. And I think that's really cool and something that I will be excited to check out when I do pick up this game, because as I said, I've been desperate for some kind of new kart racer, and I just think the level design, and they're definitely going for a Mario Kart vibe here. Like, it's very obvious. Even one of the roads that they were playing through literally looked like Rainbow Road to me, or at least extremely similar. So, you know, I'll be excited to check it out as long as the mechanics play good and it's super responsive and things like that. And hopefully, you know, the online play isn't laggy or anything. I will be excited to check this out when it does drop on March 10th of 2022. So I want to hear from you guys now that we have this new information and release date around Chocobo GP, if this is one that you will be interested in looking at or picking up at the Nintendo Switch when it drops next year. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Chocobo GP in the comments down below. Now, the next story I want to talk about today is the official announcement that we just got from Nintendo that does confirm that we can expect an Indie World Showcase to take place tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, or if you're like me and you live in Central time, that is 11 a.m. So make sure you set a reminder. It's already up on Nintendo's channel, and you can set a reminder for the stream, but it is an interesting announcement. There's a couple things that I want to point out, because one, it actually signifies that Nintendo is sticking to their traditional schedule, because we typically do see them host an Indie World in the month of December. That will later transition me to the last thing we're going to talk about today, which is when can we expect the next Nintendo Direct to take place, or the first Direct of 2022 to take place. But besides that, we have to talk about what games we may be able to expect from this event. And I do expect this one to actually have a number of new announcements, probably some new indie titles that we can expect to drop, maybe some shadow drops before the end of the year, but probably a lot of buildup for 2022 titles. And there's a couple big ones that I really hope we see, but I'm not going to have, you know, my hopes up too high for them. But the couple that come to mind are none other than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, which we have not gotten a ton of information on. I think the last time it was showed off, we got April O'Neil added in as a playable character, which we can confirm. A lot of people then pointed out that the way that the poster and like the ending screen was set up is that it looks like there should be an additional character that maybe they will, you know, surprise drop at a future trailer. so maybe we get that kind of announcement, some kind of overview, maybe if we're lucky an official release window or an exact release date. And I would just love to see more of the game and know to expect when we will see this drop on the Nintendo Switch console. Then the other one is, of course, a longtime fan favorite that has had so much buildup behind it, and I almost feel like it's too big for an indie world, but we could definitely see it be something like a show closer, and that is another look at Hollow Knight Silksong, because this game has been announced for quite some time, and they're really, in my opinion, I think they announced it a little bit early because we just haven't gotten any kind of glimpse on what to expect in terms of release timeline for this title. And it's been out there as a confirmed game with its first overview trailer since the Nintendo Direct back in February of 2019. So that has been quite some time. Like, we are fastly approaching 3 years since the original announcement of this game. And of course, while you can say it is a bigger project than your standard indie title, we typically do not see indie games or just lower dollar games, I guess you could say, which maybe you could argue this isn't anymore, but it's also definitely not like a full-scale AAA Zelda Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey 2 level type of game. We typically don't go this long without getting some kind of update. So I would love to see that at Indie World, but I think that Shredder's Revenge is more likely to show up than something like Silksong. So if they close out the show with Silksong, some kind of overview trailer, maybe a release window for 2022, that will be a thriller way to go out of that event. But again, temper your expectations. I think we're going to see a lot of new indie games announced and maybe some updates on existing ones that we hope to see. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. If you are planning on watching the Indie World event tomorrow, what you think we will see at the event, and what your most hyped titles are that you hope we see new information on or revealed at tomorrow's showcase. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Indie World in the comments down below. Now, the last story I want to talk about today is, when can we as Nintendo fans expect the next mainline Direct to take place? As we just covered, an Indie World Showcase is officially scheduled for December now. It's actually tomorrow, of course, at the time of filming this video, but I do want to cover what that could mean for the future next Direct, because we typically see Nintendo stick to somewhat of a schedule, while it has changed over the years on what month they hold their first 2022 or their first of the year Direct, I should say. I do think that this Indie World announcement says they're sticking to their regular Direct schedule going forward. And if you just look at history, a lot of times anywhere from 6 to 9 weeks after an Indie Direct, we can expect some kind of mainline Direct showcase. Now, I do think there's a couple interesting things to point out at the start of this conversation, such as Legends Arceus coming out at the end of January. So I think Nintendo's going to want to give that game kind of its own little window to breathe. I don't think we really need to see it at a Nintendo Direct at all. And I do think that if we do get any more information on Legends Arceus, that will take place directly from the Pokemon Company, and they will hold it in their own Pokemon Presents, as we have been seeing them do more recently over the previous announcements. Like, as of the last couple years, they've really been handling all the Pokemon related stuff themselves. So that's one thing. So maybe we get a Pokemon Presents in January. We could still get a Nintendo Direct in January. We've seen Nintendo do a full-scale mainline Direct in January, so it's possible that you could also have the conversation that because they really didn't show up at all at the Game Awards, and it was a big disappointment for us Nintendo fans that were watching that showcase, that maybe they want to get their announcements out there earlier, and we can expect it as soon as January. If I'm a betting man, I think February is the month that we can expect it to take place, hopefully in the earlier part of February, but we have seen them do one right in the middle of February before, back in 2019, which you could argue was their last year of, like, I guess, a traditional schedule, except for what we are seeing them come back to now, because I think we all know that Nintendo kind of had to call a ton of audibles in 2020, understandably, because of the real world situation that was unfolding all throughout that year. So if you just look at their traditional schedule over the years, we've seen them do it in January, we've seen them do it in February, and we've seen them do it in March. So you can argue that any three of those months make sense for the 2022 Direct. Now, regardless of when we see that Direct take place, I want to quickly cover what I think we will see covered at the next Nintendo Direct, because there's a few things floating around out there that I think we can at least expect as Nintendo fans to be announced at whatever their next mainline Direct is. To start off with one of the less likely games, which maybe you guys won't agree with me on this, because I know we're expecting Breath of the Wild 2 to come out in 2022, as Nintendo still has that on their roadmap as one of the games that they are planning for 2022. And of course, back at E3, we had Mr. Aonuma say they are aiming for a 2022 release. I don't think we see this game featured at a first of the year Direct. I think personally, this is just just my own prediction, but I think we get some kind of blowout media hype, full showcase of what the title is, and gameplay followed up in a treehouse style format at something like the next E3 Nintendo Direct. That's probably, since it missed the Game Awards, and I was in the camp where I really had some level of hope that hopefully we would see that be announced there, as we had seen the previous Breath of the Wild, of course, heavily featured multiple times at the Game Awards. It did not happen this year. I don't think that means that Nintendo's just automatically going to slot it into a February Nintendo Direct. I think that the title reveal and the gameplay blowout and all of the media and marketing promotion that comes along with a game of that scope for Nintendo starts at E3. Another one that I would say is less likely, but it's kind of a 50-50 chance, would be something like Bayonetta 3, because we just got that at the September Direct, and we could see a follow-up, and maybe if it is a early summer game, like before E3 would take place, we would get some kind of update trailer. So that's why I say it's 50-50, but since we did just get it in September, I also think, especially if this is a early February or late January Direct, that it's less likely to be there at that event. Another less likely one, but one that I would absolutely love to see maybe even close out something like the first 2022 Nintendo Direct, is the heavily rumored Metroid Prime 1 remake. And the reason it's on the last or least likely list for me is just simply the fact that I think Nintendo, with the recent awards that they of course won for Metroid Dread, will want to continue to pump up and try to give Dread its own full window to sell. And you can say that, of course, with that game coming out in October, that it has had the time. And if we just get the announcement trailer for something like Metroid Prime 1 Remake, I do think that maybe it's given enough time at that point, because maybe Metroid Prime 1 Remake doesn't come out till the middle of the year. I still think that maybe the Metroid Prime 1 Remake comes alongside of something like a Metroid Prime 4 development update, maybe not even a trailer at the E3 Direct. Like they're going to come on stage, they're going to say it's still going well in development, we need more time, but here's what you Metroid Prime fans can expect in the meantime, and here's the surprise announcement trailer for Metroid Prime 1 Remake, which will be out in a couple of months. Like, I could see them doing something bigger like that at E3. Not saying it won't be at this Direct, just where I land on my own personal prediction list. Getting into some of the very likely games, I think we're absolutely seeing Kirby focused on there, as we already know that that is a 2022 spring window 2022 game, which of course it has its title, The Forgotten Land, and everything, and it's going to be a very exciting 3D action adventure platformer title for Kirby, and I'm very excited to get more information on that. But I definitely think we'll get some kind of deep dive story trailer and overview as we get closer to its eventual launch in the spring window. Then Splatoon 3 would be next up on the list of a very likely game to be featured at something like the first 2022 Nintendo Direct, and I think they give us, of course, just a gameplay mashup, more details on what the online play is going to entail, maybe different gameplay modes. Like, they may just deep dive that game and give us the exact release date. Then one that's kind of a toss-up, but I honestly think it's time to unveil it, and especially, due to all the leaks and rumors, and even just the voice actress herself confirming the game was, actually being worked on. Then we had a reporter come out and say that was indeed true, and it was actually going to be done in 2021, but they pushed it to 2022. That is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think that could be, if there's not anything bigger at this 2022 Nintendo Direct, I think that could easily be the show closer, as it would be technically a surprise announcement, since Nintendo themselves have not hinted at its existence. But I do think that could be something that we would see featured at this event. A big show closer for me that I would love to see there, but is probably a little bit of a stretch since we haven't heard anything, but I could see it being a surprise announcement, would be something like that heavily rumored Donkey Kong game that we've had multiple industry insiders claim, and basically just go out on a limb and say it's in development, it's being done in the in-house studio that also handles Mario Odyssey, and we could see something like the next 2.5D, or if we're super lucky, a 3D direction for Donkey Kong. And honestly, I'm fine with either one. I'm just ready for a new Donkey Kong game, because I bought Tropical Freeze when it was released on the Wii U, and that has been quite some time now, so I am definitely ready to hop back in with DK and get some new levels and exploration and platforming. Whatever they have to offer us as a new DK experience, I'm here for it. So I hope we see that at the event, but that's also one that's not the most likely, because of course we don't have any indication that that's when Nintendo will unveil this game. And then last on the list, that's also just kind of a coin flip, but could be there, is of course, we just talked about in yesterday's video, the leaks that suggest that Mario Odyssey 2 is indeed in development. And I think it's a fairly safe bet to say that that's probably the direction that Nintendo's going. But let's not say Mario Odyssey 2. Let's just say whatever the next 3D Mario game is could be featured at this event, because as I previously predicted, you know, if we see Metroid and Zelda at the E3 Direct, I don't think we're getting Metroid, Zelda, and Mario at the 3D Direct. So if they have any plans for the next 3D Mario installment to come out in 2022, similar to how we saw them stack up both Zelda and Mario on 2017 whenever the Switch of course launched, maybe it would be the show closer for this Direct. But guys, at this point in the video, I want to hear from you on all your personal predictions on when you think we will see the first Nintendo Direct in 2022, what games you hope we see there the most, which ones you think are safe bets, and which ones you think are, you know, kind of more lofty ones that you don't think we may see, but you hope we see them there. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys on all the different stories we covered today, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.